Okay, let's start here. I'm just going to open up this page. Hide that. Okay, good. Here we go. We're going to finish the mimer we started already. Hopefully everyone could see my screen. We'll try and do a little bit of a review. Okay. It's going to give us the best, I think, review we can get. There. There we go. Okay, 9:30, right on time. If anyone did make a Birchas Torah today, you should make it right now. Baruch atah Adonai, Hashem asher baruch banu b'kolim lasanu esrei shop, nine tzeinah Torah. Okay. If anyone has any questions, I think you can put them into the chat, etc., etc. Okay. And the linkage is all available here. Okay, here we go. This is where we got up to last time. Okay, this is most relevant, I think, to us. Since there became a greater mix-up of spiritual bad and people during this time of the second base of Mikdash, more so than during the first base of Mikdash, they required more fiery love of Hashem in prayer in order to remove that bad. This is why the sages established the order of the daily prayers, which are added to people's involvement in prayer as compared to the previous era. Fine. However, nowadays, what do we need to do nowadays? We need to be involved in prayer with much more passion than in the times of the second base of Mikdash. Why is this so? Since the lower the spiritual level of generation, that particular generation, right? So, right, Sinai was thousands of years ago. X number of generations, so we're towards the end of the 6,000 years of exile. The more intensely passionate has to be their involvement in prayer, right? The lower you are, the greater you need prayer, because the greater you need to separate out the negativity that's been integrated into your system, some by fault of our own, and some just by dint of being born in the time and place that we're born in. In fact, the trend is that each succeeding generation is not on a higher spiritual level than the previous one. Yeah, it's interesting that he says that, because I don't know, do people assume that? Maybe they would, because technology, evolution, progression. Just the opposite. Each generation is generally lower than the previous. And because of the great increase of bad that becomes more mixed into people in each succeeding generation, we need to continuously intensify the fiery passion in the prayer in order to separate that bad and to remove the bad that is inside of us and elevate it to the source of motives, right? The more bad, the greater the methods of detoxification or separation are needed more critically. Kim Shal ben Hamelach im Hazorna. Now, as explained above, in the analogy of the harlot and the prince, Sheyachsoy v'chayis shal hara hamechayehu echayesh lo yechayis ve'akadosh baruch hu ki bil adon lo hayayachu lichyois ve'akadosh baruch hu mechayehu al derech hanal. This means that a person should contemplate the fact that there is a life force in the bad, right? And the harlot and the prince was the king hired a harlot to seduce his son, to test him, and the challenge was that the harlot had to appear as if she really wanted the prince to, right, to be seduced, despite the fact that she did not. She wanted him to resist her allure, so that the king will be happy with her, right? And that's like negativity. And negativity seems like it really wants us to get beaten down, but it doesn't. It wants us to resist it so that we can ultimately experience the greatest elevation possible, which is the joy of having opted for good when we have an opportunity to choose it. Right? And that's only in the presence of some kind of overarching shadow, negativity, etc. This means that a person should contemplate the fact that there is a life force in the bad. So when you see bad, you stop. Don't just see it as bad. Look at it and say, no, there's not really bad. There is no bad. There's only good. There's only Hashem. There's only one thing, Hashem, right? Everything can be traced back to a single source, which is Hashem, and Hashem is good by definition. So bad is only a problem with our reception of the good or our interpretation of the good. There's no actual bad. So when we see bad, we have to stop looking at it at its surface and probe it deeper to see what it is, and plunge the depths of the badness, so to see that it's actually really good. It's actually a higher form of good that couldn't be revealed in this world because it's so high. Therefore, it appears as bad. It's literally ahead of its time. The bad would not be able to live, and Hashem gives it life for the reason explained above, namely in order to test the person. I don't know why this is not bolded. This should be bolded. I mean, in order to test the person and bring him to a deeper connection to Hashem. But maybe we see it more when it's not bolded. I don't know. Maybe some people are like that. If so, then it is not really bad at all. Right? We have to stop saying it. There's no bad. What bad? Since his Yetzer Hara exists for his own benefit, your coach, right? The coach of a Olympic something, right? They're going to work them really hard. And if somebody walked in the middle of a training session, they're going to say, this man is a masochist, I don't know, sadist, whatever it is. No, he's not. He's actually strategically giving that person exactly what they want, and they're paying him for it. And it's not truly bad, even though it appears to be. Right? Looks can be deceiving. Looks are deceiving, period. The Alter Rebbe now applies the same concept to material suffering. Okay. So regarding all the suffering and material matters, if a person will reflect on them in the way that was explained above, how their source is good and holy and for the person's benefit, then all the doers of evil will disperse. Right. And this is reminding me of the book, The Garden of Emunah. If you haven't read it recently, read it again. Read it again. If you haven't read it, period, then what are you waiting for? It's the most life-changing book I've seen in terms of everyone who's read it has just been. No one's had a bad experience with that book, and I think one of the reasons is really, really drives home this point. Like in every scenario you can possibly think of, it changes your world view radically. It uplifts your worldview. It gives you an update. It's literally a system upgrade and update on how we view the world around us. There is no negativity. There's only opportunities for growth, opportunities for advancement, Hashem's attempts to get close to us, etc., etc. Hashem's message, right? It's just like emotions. There's no negative emotions. There's only action signals, right? If you're experiencing a quote unquote negative emotion, it's telling you need to change something. There has to be a change in either your procedure, right, or your perspective. Probably both, to varying degrees, right? So negative emotions are actually a good thing, right? Your check engine light is not. It's not negative. It's there to help you save your car, right? This means that when a person is able to see the source of the suffering and how it is coming from Hashem, right? This too comes from Hashem. For the person's own benefit, right? It's not just coming from Hashem. It's coming from Hashem for goodness. For goodness sake, it's coming from Hashem. And for goodness sake, it's coming from Hashem to you. He'll be able to disperse and remove the painful negative state of things as they exist in this world. As explained above, right? You literally rise above the world. At least the woe part of the world. As explained above, as the judgments exist above, they are connected to holiness. But as they descend into this world, they lose that revealed connection to their source. Right, so these means that Hashem uses, we might call it negativity, Hashem uses to get us right, get us correct, get us on the straight and narrow, right? In their source, they you can see them bound up with the goodness. So it's not negative there. As it comes down here, it loses connection to that goodness and therefore becomes totally concealed in negativity. But we have to remember, that's why we need Torah, that's why we need Chassidus to tell us how to probe the depths. Explained about the judgments exist above, they are connected to holiness. But as they descend into this world, they lose that revealed connection to their source, turning into doers of evil, right? Wreaking havoc on an otherwise, right, tame and civil society, right? There's just negativity out there. There's badness out there, and we just have to board up our windows and keep our heads down and try not to take it off. Purely harsh judgments that have no holy intention. That's how it appears. However, when a person uses his mind, hopefully he's using his mind to reconnect these harsh judgments to their source, saying, wait a minute, these things are things. They're coming from Hashem. Hashem's good. These things must be good. They're not really bad. He reveals in them their connection to their source, which causes their harshness to disappear. And for some reason, I'm thinking of Rumpelstiltskin, right? What was the purpose of that? When you reveal the name, which is, I guess, some connection to their source, what happens? They reveal some aspect of them, right? So that's what we're saying here. When you call out the negativity for what it is, you're not really negativity, you're goodness. The negativity ceases to be. That's like every scary movie, right? When they finally stop resisting whatever it is, the negativity, and they just run into it head on, apply it directly to the forehead, the negativity evaporates instantaneously, and it's like it never was. Suddenly the clouds clear, the sun comes out. It's a beautiful day. This is the idea of Nachum Ish Gamzu. Who's that, you might be asking? Well, we addressed him earlier, but we'll do a little review here. He was a man who was totally committed to this. Was his life, so much so that he's dubbed Ish Gamzu because of his he was often quoted as saying Gamzu Tova, everything's for the good, right? Even when it rains on his birthday parade. Even when, I don't know, he steps in mud, or it's like rain on your wedding day, or even when he gets on a free ride, but he already paid, right? He says Gamzu Tova. The man who said this is also for the good. The man who said this is also for the good. That's what he always said. This is also for the good, right? And in fact, all the tzaddikim had the same approach towards suffering. By the way, this idea has been carried out in many television series and movies, etc. Also, right, the guy that's just persistent positivity, you might even call it a disorder, and everyone around him is just waiting for him to crumble, and he doesn't. He persists, and everything works out for him, right? And in fact, the people who are preying on his downfall are the ones who crumble, right? Because they haven't adopted this particular philosophy. It is just that Nachum Ish Gamzu was able to alter. How did he alter? And what did he alter? He altered his reality in this world so that it corresponded with how it is seen from above to below. Right? It's like if you go away to college, you don't have to completely abandon your home. You can bring some I don't know, accoutrement or like trinkets from your home to make it a little more homely or right, to remind you of home. So too, we're saying here, Nachum Ish Gamzu wanted the reality down here in this temporary existence to appear more like it was up in heaven. And why wouldn't everyone want that, right? Unless we're getting some kind of payoff by having a negative experience, in which case, stop it. It is just that Nachum Ish Gamzu was able to alter the reality in this world so that it corresponds with how it is seen from above to below, right? So what did he do? He altered his perception and his procedure, He made them positive, so that it should be actually visible below in this world that it is good, even on a physical level. Meaning he did this to such an extent that he experienced the reveal. He actually experienced the eventual unveiling of that goodness in this world. See, that's the thing. If you persist long enough, eventually you're going to get some results. This is why he was named after his saying that Gam, also Zu, this is for the good, meaning that the good should be perceived like something you can point with your finger and say this is good, right? It's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the taste you can see, Gam Zulatova, the goodness you can touch. However, all the other tzaddikim, even though in their minds they were thinking about suffering with the same approach as Nachum, right? We all live in the same world. Negativity doesn't just happen to a select few; it happens to everybody. The revealed good remained above as it was originally, without the good becoming perceptible in this world below, in the physical world. Right. So, what was different about his procedure? How did he get results? What's the secret? The secret. Nachmish Gamzu reveals the secret tonight on the BBC. The Alter Rebbe is pointing out an important point. Yeah, I would say he's been doing that throughout, but okay. Only for certain people in certain situations, there's some make miraculous transformations for hidden good to reveal good in a supernatural manner. Right. So you could say there's something miraculous, meaning negativity doesn't necessarily always have a nice bow tied around it and become have the happy ending, right? And we ride off into the sunset together. That we might like, but for Nachum Ish Ganzu it was. So why was that? Even though every tzaddik and every Jew takes this deeper approach to suffering, elevating it to its source and only, right? We all try. We're all going to try and emulate. For most people, most of the time, the transformation is more subtle, right? We don't see it like that. It's much more subtle. I mean, not everybody buys a stock and then the next day it shoots up whatever X number of points and they win. Most people, it's over time they accrue a gradual, steady, growth, etc. Most of the time, the results of elevating the hidden good to its source and reveal good will cause a transformation, but it will come in a seemingly natural means, right? Boring. For example, someone is sick and he thinks about how it is really from Hashem for his benefit, right? He's a scoffing, and right, he's sick, he's sweating, etc. But he says, "Well, I'm experiencing it. This exists. Hashem is the source of it, so it must be good. I'm gonna be joyous in my illness." And then by Hashgacha Pratis, individual by promise, he meets just the right doctor, who gives him just the right medicine, he recovers. Right. Or someone lost his job, or he finds the answer to his problem, or someone lost his job and is suffering financially. After he thinks into how his suffering is to motivate him to tshuva, right? Why else? You weren't getting the wake-up call Hashem was trying to send you, so he took away your job so you get hello. It's like when your kids aren't listening and you have to like unplug the Sega Genesis or what have you, right? The television. They say, "What'd you do that for?" Because I wanted your attention. So too, Hashem does this with us. And by the way, your job doesn't matter. Hashem can make a job for you in a second. Money doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The only thing that matters is Hashem. And if you're not at that level yet, you have to start getting there, because that's the whole point. The Alter Rebbe was known for rolling in a, you might call it like a, he was rolling, right? Rolling on Molly. No, he wasn't rolling on Molly. He was rolling in Dvekas, in the highest pleasure you could experience. Right? He was in a self-transcendent trance where he was experiencing godliness directly and totally losing himself. But what would he say? He would say, "Hashem, I don't want your God. I don't want your reward. I don't want your Gan Eden. I don't want your heavens. Right? I want you." So we have to make a distinction. Yes, there's higher worlds. There's heaven, right? And then there's a world of Atzilus, a world of emanation. But then there's just Hashem himself. And if you know what this thing's all about, then that's all you should really care about. And through Torah mitzvahs in this world and being on track, being on the right page in this world, you can connect to Hashem himself, which is higher than any heavens, the highest heavens, right? Et cetera, et cetera. Okay. That's what I'm saying. Your job doesn't matter because you think, "Oh, I had this great job." No, the job is relative to Hashem. The job isn't. Hashem is. Everything else isn't. Hashem will create it. Get your priorities straight. So to each person experiences many of these instances where his realization of the inner purpose of his suffering and the increase in trust in its service to Hashem that results from it brings him by Hashgacha Pratis. Where does it bring him? To the resolution of his physical suffering. Yet you have been delivered. Oh, happy day. However, usually the Hashgacha Pratis is clothed in natural means, right? It comes gradually. Only people like Nachum, or occasionally regular people, experience supernatural, miraculous transformations of their situation by elevating the suffering to its source and holiness. Right? Once in a while, you hit the jackpot. However, the idea of the copper snake reflected the mode of Nachum. Okay, that's the connection here. That's why the Alter Rebbe quoted the Gemara that related to Nachum. Okay, we say the idea of the copper snake was that when Moshe would hold it up, the Jewish people would look up to it, and then they would see Hashem in the background, i.e. the backdrop, the context of the sky, and they would remember, "Oh yeah, that snake doesn't matter because Hashem's really the only thing." So that snake is really just a manifestation of Hashem that's here for my benefit. So we're saying that the benefit of this whole ordeal of Moshe putting it on a stick, why do you have to do that? Why can't you just say, everybody look up, right? Like we do it for the solar, whatever, the solar eclipse, why couldn't you do that? Why do we need this copper snake fiasco? Because the idea of the copper snake is it effectuated something similar to what Nachum Ish Gamzu effectuated, which was not only did he have faith, was he faithful in the fact that this negativity is actually really good, but the negativity became good as a result of that. And that's what this copper snake was able to do. It didn't just kind of like lead you along and let you white knuckle, as they say, right? Let you cold turkey the negativity. No, it actually converted the negativity into goodness right before your eyes. A goodness you can see, a goodness you can touch. Okay, and that's reflected through Nachum Ish Gamzu. A supernatural transformation of hidden good into revealed good. Wow, amazing. Okay, so this is answers question 1 and 2. Questions number 1 and 2 were, question number 1 was, why do we need the whole snake thing? Why can't we just say look up, right? And then question number 2 was, don't we know that we're supposed to, based on Gemara, that we're supposed to look down, our gaze is supposed to be downward when we're praying, and only inwardly should our hearts be up. So that's what we're going to address here. This is the idea of the nechash, the snake of nechoshes, copper, that Moshe had to place on top of a pole. Shahayat tzarich la lahak bahas anachash lamaila amistaklim klape maila. It was needed in order to elevate the snake upwards to its source and holiness, so that people would look upwards to Hashem, the source of everything. Right. I guess it's saying if the snake can be elevated, certainly I can be elevated. Meaning so that people shouldn't think that the snake is something truly separate